Hey there, everyone. It's Jody Sutter of the Sutter Company. Welcome to this month's LinkedIn Live. We are going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. As those of you who know me and follow me hopefully know, that one of my biggest philosophies is that for the owner or the leader or the partner of a small agency is the best business development resource that agency has. Not necessarily the only one, but for an agency between, say, 5 and 55 people, the owner really needs to be involved in setting the pace, setting the tone, and leading the business development function. And so we're going to be talking to an agency owner who has fully embraced the idea of the chief sales officer. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to learn a lot from his insights, what he does that works really well for him, and maybe some advice that you can take for yourself as you learn to embrace your chief sales officer role. But before we get to that, I just wanted to mention that I'm launching a new program. So I have primarily worked just one-to-one with my clients for, I don't know, the last 10 years that I've been in business. But I want to start to work with more agencies and give you an opportunity to work with me. So I'm launching a program called the Build, Win, Scale Accelerator. I think my team member, Charmaine, who's in the background here, will be able to pull that up. There we go. So this is like I said, a new launch. It's a pilot program where I'm in a pilot launch. So there are some distinct benefits, like a pretty drastic reduction in what will be the normal cost, because quite frankly, you will be helping me learn as I help you learn how to build a business development system. It's going to be really ideal for any small agency owner who is looking for a more systematic, reliable approach to business development. Small agency between 5 and 55 people. An individual person who is willing to be coached and try new methodologies, a new approach, and someone who really wants a new business culture for the long term that everyone in the agency can be a part of. So you can email me simply, jody@thesuttercompany.com. You can send me a message, do a hand raiser post, or thanks, Shah, for that as well. Or also just go ahead and scan that QR code, which will take you directly to a scheduling page. Okay. That's enough of my promo. Now I want to get to our guest. So this month I'm welcoming Jon Tsourakis, who is the co-founder and CEO of Oyova, digital agency that works with national clients. And Jon, you have, well, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
One of the reasons I wanted to invite you on is because you are the epitome of the chief sales officer, owner as chief sales officer. And so I guess let me start with that, if that's okay. Just a question about how you has sales always come naturally to you, or is it something that a role that you had to grow into and learn to do?
I don't know if it came natural. I don't know. It definitely didn't come natural to me. I would say I resisted it. And I had a lot of the stigmas that other people had, probably, as, you like used car salesman and some of these other like negative connotations. Yeah. And I was actually struggling early on before I really just had to figure it out and embrace it. And I just had some really good mentors, some that just called me out, that just said, like, what are you afraid of it? Like, maybe you just don't understand it. Like, these really challenging things to take a look at it. And at the end of the day, what really helped me was a few things. One was the convergence of essentially like persuasion and psychology, and just how do people, take action on something. There's a big marriage between sales and marketing there. And then the other side was just really looking at, it's a fantastic thing because you're just introducing someone to a solution to their problem, and you get to be at the forefront of it. So just really embracing those sides of it made me fall in love with it.
You've brought up a lot of things there that I'm hoping to unpack. Hopefully I'll remember a couple of things that you said at the beginning. I mean, I guess what I'm interested in is, because you and I have known each other for a few years now, and I feel like I've always known you as this person who's really been willing to embrace sales as a way to generate revenue, grow business for his agency. So I guess tell us a little bit more about that moment where you're like, I got to do something different. How did you start to embrace it? You mentioned a couple of mentors. Did you have to embrace it as an agency owner, or is this going back to other experience?
So I worked in a sales function for another marketing company. But I wore so many other hats. So
Yeah.
I wasn't even necessarily just measured on that, even though I was paid by commission, and I did very well at doing that.
Congratulations.
And I thought, all right, when I open my own agency, I'm just going to be able to just delegate that, find somebody that's going to do it,
Yeah.
and everything will just work out. And I couldn't have been more wrong. Like I just literally went through tons of people, and ultimately I figured out through actually talking with another agency owner who was probably about 10 times larger than me at that time, just said, you need to look at your relationship with sales, because if you don't figure that out, he's like, you're going to fail.
This is another agency owner.
This was another agency owner. Yeah. And at that time, I really had to just take a hard look at it. I was like, man, what am I doing? And when I was able to really embrace it, really start studying it, look at the things that I'd learned in the past and the things that I resisted, and just really take it on and understand that all of the greatest companies in the world had somebody that was amazing at sales leading them. You could say whether it was Ray Kroc with McDonald's, you could say Steve Jobs, whether it was Apple, you could say even Bill Gates or Richard Branson. Any of these people are awesome at sales. And I'm not putting myself in that same category, but I can emulate those things that I know are going to be successful. So if you can convince somebody that what you have is worth giving a try and having them purchase it, and you confidently believe in what it is that you are selling and offering, then you are a much healthier company, because that's going to resonate with all of your people that are on your staff. And of course, then that's going to resonate to your customers as well.
Yeah. We've got one comment from Christopher Ortolano, who says, there is no fear, there's only sales. And that's attributed to Yoda.
I love that. All right, Chris, yeah.
And by the way, please, if you happen to be listening, watching live today, please feel free to submit questions or comments if you've got questions for me or for Jon. So you mentioned Steve Jobs, and I wonder how many people would actually think of Steve Jobs as a salesperson. I think probably most people would think of him as other things, an inventor, a visionary. I know how I'd answer this question, but what did you find about Steve Jobs that made him a good salesperson? What was it about how he, himself?
His ability to articulate the benefits of essentially anything that was in his world that he wanted you to experience, whether it's the presentations that he does, or just every pitch that you can see him on video. Of course, I never met this in person, but the way that he can articulate something that really connects, and just breaking it down into a brutally simple way that evokes somebody to, take action, whether that's going to buy or take interest in it, is profound. And yeah, you can call him a genius, you can call him an inventor, you can call these other things. First and foremost, that is a salesman. Thomas Edison, that is a salesman.
Oh yeah.
Any of these people that are pushing this, and there's so many of these really great, to your audience, great agency owners. There's all these fantastic people that are inventors, and they all have these really great ideas, but they can't sell. And selling is a skill. And if they take that on and just really understand, like, okay, there's a storytelling component. There's a charisma component. There's a connectivity component. All of these things, and figure out what works best for them and their authentic way of doing it. I mean, it's insane what that's going to open up. So yeah, I think it's a skill that everybody should learn. And I think they should look at people like Steve Jobs or any of those other icons that I've mentioned, and they'll see like, okay, all right, hey, I can connect the dots. I can see how these people essentially did it. And then if you just follow that path, I think some good things are going to happen for you.
You mentioned storytelling, and I am just a huge fan of storytelling in sales. I think it's essential for any type of selling, any type of marketing. And what I find kind of ironic is that a lot of agencies, a lot of agency owners, that's exactly what they do for their clients. They tell great stories to get a consumer engaged in some way with their clients, brand, product, service, whatever. But they don't always turn it on themselves. And I think storytelling is also particularly useful when you are selling an abstract service like ideas. The way I say it, like what agencies are selling, you are selling ideas with absolutely no guarantee of results. And I think what we tend to fall back on is the usual, like, pick me, pick me, pick me. I'm great. It's going to be so much fun. Don't like everything's going to be fabulous. Let's just go. Rather than say, employing some storytelling skills. You had also mentioned sort of the being brutally simple. I think that's the other beautiful thing about a story. I mean, there are a lot of complicated stories, but the actual story framework is very simple. And I also find what's so interesting about the story framework is that what makes a story so appealing are the ups and downs. When the hero gets into some scrapes, and that's, if you can talk about how, as an agency owner, if you can talk about where maybe you took the wrong turn, but then you figured out the right way to get back on the path, or when a client gave you a particularly hard challenge that maybe you didn't hit it right out of the park right away, but you were able to sort of figure things out. I think it makes your clients really understand, like, oh, these people they're not going to give up. They're going to be relentless. All these words that agencies tend to use that don't have any meaning if there's no story behind it.
Yeah. I think the way that we use stories the most is trying to find something that is relative, of course, to the conversation we're having with the client. And the thing that lands closest is when you have a case study, a past example, a problem that you solved for somebody. Like, if you have that, that's perfect. The worst thing that any agency owner wants to hear is, hey, have you solved this super unique problem that's never happened to anybody else before, but it's really important to us? And you're like, dude, that. I know. I mean, we haven't solved that exact thing, but it doesn't matter. We've solved this plethora of problems, which shows that we are problem solvers. And if you can have the dynamism to, take that information, not make it anything more than it is, and then find a story that's going to plug in, an analogy or something, then it's really going to land. But yeah, I would say we go with tons of case studies previously. And then when we don't have a case study, we'll find another example of something that is potentially in the media that has some meaning that they can tie to. So we can just really start stitching these things together, spend more time with them so they trust us more, and of course, get them closer to the close.
Yeah. Case studies also, I think, that's something that we take for granted, but a lot of agencies don't really think about how they are stories. How often do you rely on case studies? Is that something that's
I'd say almost on every single sales call, we're going to reference another client for sure. On the marketing, we have some really good ones where we helped, an AC company grow from their first year. They're doing like 250K, and then they sold for, like 30 million, 10 years later, like those types of things. And it's just talking about the instances that happen with those that really can connect and land. And sometimes you'll tell 2 or 3 stories. But you have to do it in such a way that is very unscripted, and it has to be very natural. And storytelling is also a skill. Some people are really natural at it that you can learn from it. But yeah, I would highly recommend to literally look at all of your case studies as stories. Don't even call them case studies anymore. Just call them your sales stories.
Yeah. It's interesting. So we could probably do this whole thing on case studies / stories, because I do feel like that's the way agencies sell their services. But do you feel like, you talked about how the dilemma, because I think this happens a lot, maybe it's on someone's mind who's listening today or watching today. Do you find that, that agencies really get stumped in that situation when the client says, we want to see this exact thing? Do you have this exact thing in your portfolio?
I think in some instances, yeah, for sure. They do. For instance, we've worked within almost every industry, and we focus on a select few now more than ever. But I remember when we were dealing with it was a hotel client, and they were acquiring another like med spa, and they needed some website and some branding and some other marketing things to do with that. And their literal question was, have you ever worked with a hotel before that was acquiring a med spa? It's like, no. I mean, no, of course we haven't. I mean, like, is there somebody that specializes in that?
There might be case, but yeah.
No, but the answer to that is like, no, we've worked with businesses that were acquiring another business, and they had to promote something, and that worked. Like that landed. So I think in defense of the client, they're being very specific and very blunt, which they're not beating around the bush. So I can appreciate that. But at the same time, we're, having two different conversations if we're not careful. One is we're literally taking what they're saying literally, and we could just respond and just no, being robotic. Or the other is like, all right, let me get to the intent of what they're actually trying to say here, and then shape that in such a way that it's going to give them comfort, but also share where we're coming from with our experience.
Yeah, and my hunch is that you're probably really good at this, but yeah, 100% where case studies can let you down is if you say, yeah, we're going to just trot out all the case studies that we have of hotels acquiring med spas, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting to the intent behind the question, the whatever problem they're solving or the anxiety. So this is also, I think, where selling as a skill comes in, or even just selling as a practice to start asking those questions. I understand you want to see this work, but tell me a little bit more about the problem that you're trying to solve. Why is this type of example so important? And I think a lot of times agencies aren't as willing to ask those questions, or they don't think it's going to yield enough. So I guess maybe, do you have a questioning strategy for when you get into these client engagement calls, closing calls, or even just, earlier on in the process?
Early on, we follow pretty traditional, the BANT, budget, authority, need, and timing, right? So we want to make sure that we're going to qualify, and then we're going to move them in. And then in our process, we take a team selling approach. So whatever experts based on that initial filtering call, we're going to bring in those people on the next call, and we're going to really dig into it right away. I know some others have the methodology where they want to keep it as surface level as possible, and then they want to, sell them their strategy, and that's great. That works for them. To us, that feels disingenuous. Like if we can solve the problem and why we're on this call and just go ahead and quote it, we're going to go and do that. We're not going to drag somebody through. It's just not a part of our.
So you're talking about like kind of one of the things that's I think become really popular today, like the 2-call close. Mm-hmm. Call 1, we're going to listen to you. You're going to tell us what your issues are. We're going to absorb that. We're going to come back in a few days, and we're going to come back with some ideas and thoughts. So you're not a big fan of that?
I am, if it works for you, but I think it may be the problems that we're solving. So I would say ours is more of like a 3-call close, right? So there's your initial filter. There's the second call we're going to talk about. We're going to hash out. Sometimes we call it a workshop. We're literally going to workshop some things. We're going to bring in some of our pros to just get into it. And then on the third, that's where we're going to propose essentially our solutions. And we try to remove as many surprises as possible. So we want to know the budget. We want to know if they're not willing to give us those things, we know early on that either they are unqualified because they don't know what something costs, which is not really the best defense with all the research that's out there today. And then on the other side, if they actually give us a budget, then we can really dig in and then craft them a solution. And if we can't find a solution, that's when we sell a strategy. Because that's when we need it, because that's where we need the research and discovery time. So we're very transparent with them throughout the entire process.
And if they're not open to paying for strategy or they don't see the value, ideally you're able to communicate the value. But if they don't see the value, then ultimately probably good to recognize that, and they're probably not the right kind of client.
Yeah, somebody that wants to go into battle without a strategy is not somebody you want to partner with.
Yeah.
So a lot of hope.
You had also mentioned, so the 3-call close, again, general framework. It sounds like you're willing to be loose with that framework when the client needs something else. But let me ask you about that 3rd call with a proposal. So again, question that I know how I would answer this, but question that a lot of people ask: should we send the proposal in advance? What if they say they don't want to call? Tell us a little bit about your approach there for making. Do you make sure that you're on the call with the client when they're looking at the proposal? How do you do that?
Yeah, you never send the proposal ahead of time, ever. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like that's not your process. You're not in the business of creating proposals. You're in the business of closing sales that offer solutions for people. So I would say that is not an equitable relationship if you're literally going to just go ahead and give that over. Like you have to present it to them and answer any questions that they have there on the spot.
So what if, again, this is like a whole
No, let's do it. Let's do it. Devil's advocate. Let's challenge it. Let's get into it.
I was gonna
Come on,
say,
Jody.
poor John, I gave him like, here are the questions I'm going to ask you. And of course, I don't think I've stuck to the script at all. Yeah. So what if someone says like, yeah, but they told us they didn't want to call. They said no. We said we had to give a call, and they said no.
It's not a good fit. Yeah.
So that would be the answer.
Like I would also challenge them to track these things. Data is everything in this business. So look at all the times that you sent a proposal ahead of time versus the times that you didn't, and then you're going to see a gross favor of the times that you present, like hands down. How do I know this? Because I was a moron and I would send the proposals ahead of time before I figured out, like, wait a second, the best thing to do here is to control the presentation. So they're not, and also you got to worry about the cattle calls. A very important question a lot of people don't ask in that qualifying call is, how many other agencies are you talking to? Mm-hmm. If they're talking to 20 other agencies, there's a low probability that you're going to move forward. And if you have a very expensive sales process like we do, it's a team selling approach. I'm taking hourly bodies and I'm putting them on this call to speak to somebody, to show them like, hey, this is how bad we want to work with you. Like we're literally giving you experts with 15 years plus experience to do that. So yeah, if it's over 6, we're like, no, just take our name out of the hat. Like we're not going to do that because we're that serious about our sales approach.
Yeah. So again, going back to the proposal, I've got a couple of questions about how you handle these types of things. So if I have a good workshop and you say the next step is we're going to put some ideas together and we'll get together for a call to go through some ideas we want to propose to you for how we can work together, scopes of work. And they say, you know what, just send it. It's going to be really hard to get our team together. We barely got everyone on the call today. Just send it. So again, you push back. At that point, though, would you sort of still be willing to do the Hail Mary pass? I'm like, we'll just send something because we have to, or would you be willing to say, we find this is not the best way to run this process. So totally respect your process, but unless you are willing to have a proposal meeting, we may not be the best partner for you. Is that the kind of conversation you'd have?
That's the road we'd go down. Yeah. And it happens every now and then where we just tell them and we tell you guys are not paid to interpret our proposal. We're paid to communicate and educate to you everything that's on there and that's not on there. So that duty's on us.
Yeah.
So we're bound to that duty to not just go ahead and give you this so you can just go ahead and figure it out. So if you're unwilling to go ahead and sit with us while we communicate some fantastic solutions to your problem, then you're probably not going to be a good fit for us. And that's okay. Because if you even look at that, them being, very challenging to work with, even in the sales process, that's the best it's ever going to be.
Right.
Like it doesn't get better. We had an instance the other day where there was a potential client, and we gave him some times that we could meet. And he said, no, he's like, we can't meet on that day. We have to meet on the 14th when the proposal was due on the 15th. So we were like, well, no, we need like a week ahead of time so we can actually do all the work. And I was like, no, you just have to go off the requirements document that we gave you. And then you need to, then you can present it to us on the 14th if you want, or ask any questions and then change those on the 15th. I was like, this isn't a good fit for us. Like, this isn't cool. Hey man, good luck. If that's your process and that works for you, so be it. But I mean, in our years of experience, that's not the best way to start a relationship. And we care too much about our people, and we got a huge breadth of great work that we've done for others following this process. Let's go ahead and stick to what we know works. Have you ever
been in a situation where you've pushed back and they've come back around and said, actually, fine. We respect your process. We don't want you to go. We want to, you're a company we want to work with. Has that ever happened?
Yeah.
Or is it
anytime that you pull out of the scenario, one of two things happens. Either they're going to ghost you and they're like, okay, that's fine. Or the other is where they're like, all right, they're going to come to their senses to move forward. I know I sound like I'm super acrimonious with clients. I'm not, but I think it's just really important to understand your worth and your value in this transaction. And when you don't, it's not going to be good. And there are, unfortunately, tons of horrible business owners out there when you can find the really good ones to work with, you can build a fantastic company because they're going to stick with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right. I appreciate you also saying that, because I certainly think, I think our industry is filled with too many, sorry folks, too many agency owners who are willing to jump through hoops for the client and yet carp about it, complain about it when they're, among themselves. And I would suggest that maybe that is reversed a little bit, where you are willing to challenge the client up front. And while not being not enthusiastic, I think it's, be willing to take a little bit of control. You want to show that you've got a lot to offer, but sort of almost pull back the enthusiasm and invest more in understanding what they need, helping them understand why it's of their benefit to follow your process. Yeah. I don't think there's a question in there. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, and I guess I would add to that, if you are so confident that you're going to kick ass, then it should be on mutual terms. It should not be one way.
Yeah.
And if that also helps you, progress forward and do even better work, then more of a reason to essentially just stand your ground. This is our process. This is our procedure. You don't go to the doctor's office and say, hey, can you come by my house later at 4:00? That's what's going to work best for me. It's like, no, dude, you come in here. We have all the equipment. That's how this works.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. Now we're getting a little bit into the nitty gritty, but so you present your proposal. Do you present a document, like a Word type of document, or slides? How do you present that in a call? Is it a document that's just easy just to send them afterwards? Like, okay, here's what we walked you through, and now we're gonna lob it over to you, or is it something more of a presentation that may or may not be able to be interpreted easily if they are looking at it on their own? What's your approach?
It's a spreadsheet.
Ah, really?
That's it.
That's interesting. I should have had you bring a sample.
Yeah. If they give a thumbs up to the spreadsheet, then we'll create whatever formal documents they want. We tell people we don't get paid to do this. So, but we're giving you the opportunity to sit with the team, or we're going to find these solutions. So we'll literally create a spreadsheet. It's super transparent. Every line item is in there. We're hourly. We're not value-based pricing. There's a select few things we'll do a value-based price on. So they can clearly see where everything is at, and there's absolutely no ambiguity.
And you don't need to, for want of a better verb, you don't need to bung it up with things like pages on awards and case studies, because they've already seen that and you've been through the work session. And so they've already got to sort of sample what it's like to work with you. And now it's just that sort of that one-page proposal. Here's what you need. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's the timeline. Sign here.
Exactly. Yeah. A sale is a series of conversations, and it's a funnel, right? You can take marketing as well. So based on that, you're absolutely right. We've already gone over the awards and all these other things. And then based on where we're at in that conversation, now it just comes to the price and the timing and essentially what's in it. And then sometimes after that, they're like, okay, cool. Hey, I need whatever to educate my team. And then at that point, we're like, okay, hey, we'd love to be a part of that process. What do you need? And they're like, okay, we need a presentation. We need this. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and create those together, because now you're bought in. And then we have an advocate within the organization, and then we're working with them to go through the approval process.
Yeah. Again, you brought up so many interesting and so many important points. Having that advocate, allowing them to do their job well without having them to do your job for you. I think that's the other thing. It's like, well, they just wanted the document so they could share it around.
Yeah, no way.
And to reassure that person in however way, it can be done in a lot of different ways, but to make sure that person knows that you have their back as well, and that you understand that, especially if they're not the ones who are making the decision, that they've got to go through some different steps. I think we also forget that. I think people come back and say, oh, they're making us jump through more hoops. I'm like, well, why? What are those hoops about? What are the things that are frustrating them that maybe you can control a little bit more, ask questions, and see if maybe there's a different way that you can both embrace that will get you to where you both want to be faster. So.
Yeah. One of the questions I ask is, and my team as well, like, what do we have to show you to convince you that we're the best choice? And people are like, all right, well, hey, I need that. They're literally going to tell you, like, this is what our selection process is like, or this is how we're going to go about this. It's like, okay, all right, then you can say, all right, this is our process. And then you don't have to be so rigid on every single aspect of it. You could say, all right, hey, would it help you if we provided, right, this type of case study? Would you like to speak to one of our clients ahead of time? And then just arranging those things to make sure to ensure to them that they're making the best decision and they're comfortable throughout this process.
Yeah, I love that. This always happens. I'm just looking at the clock, and we're actually 1 minute past. We're 31 minutes past the top of the hour, so I've already kept you a little bit late. Can I ask you one more question before I let you go?
Let's do it.
There's so many questions that I would like to ask you. You talked about marketing. Tell me a little bit, what do you do as far as marketing at your agency, and how does marketing dovetail with sales?
So as far as marketing, we do everything from Facebook campaigns in specific niches.
For your agency.
For our agency, yeah, to SEO campaigns, AEO campaigns. Now we've been doing those for like the last year and a half. We do paid advertising in some of the others. We go to events. We give out some gnarly referral commissions to our partners, to our referral partners. We have team members that are in networking groups. This is a long way to say, like, we go down as many channels as we can manage effectively to make sure that we're pulling in business. We don't just count on just one, because Google could do an update that just slaughters one, or there could be a pandemic that comes in where nobody's going to meet in place. That's actually not why we do that. Just it's really good to make sure that you're maximizing all of your channels. But if you're not maximizing any of your channels, start with one channel. But it's a long way of me saying that we literally market in every channel that we possibly can that makes sense. Even email marketing. We don't do the spray and pray method anymore. We're more of like, okay, here's 50 people this month, and then we're going to just go ahead and target them. So we have a very strategic way that we go down all of these avenues.
Well, it also sounds like, in terms of the ads, that you probably do for yourself what you do for others. So you're already leveraging the strength there. The fact that you have really embraced the sales role, so you're doing what feels comfortable to you with informed strategic selling. I talk about it as like a new business ecosystem, because I think one of the traps that agency owners can also get into is a sense of overwhelm, like we've got to do it all, or we've got to do this stuff that doesn't feel right to me. And I say, no, like, think about it. Well, first of all, just like you, start with one thing and think about it as this ecosystem. It's what is going to, you want to do the thing that is right for you, that is going to cultivate growth. You don't want to do too much of it. You don't want to starve the system, and you want to put the right thing into the system. And so what's that one thing? The other thing too is you want to, stuff takes a while to grow. Just like in a natural ecosystem. So also allow it maybe more than 2 weeks before you say, we tried content marketing and it didn't work for us.
Totally. And if you're a marketing agency, or even you're a web dev agency, like, you have these team members that are assigned to do these roles, like, they own those things. They own the SEO, your SEO manager, your paid search manager. He owns she owns the paid search, social media, so on and so forth. You already have that team. Like, just pound it, fail at things, figure it out, iterate, just keep going. It's all about essentially the hunt, and just keep hunting and trying.
Yeah. That is potentially a great way to end this, except, do you have anything that I didn't ask you that you wished I had? Any sort of burning advice to give to other agency owners who are out there?
No, but I think the main thing is, and I've said this, a few times, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you're going to be all right. If you're comfortable, you're complacent, and things are not going to go well. It's only a matter of time.
That's right. That's right. That's a great way to conclude this wonderful conversation. I wish I had twice the time, so perhaps I'll have to get you back on again so we can talk more about the agency owner and how to embrace sales. But thank you so much, Jon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jody. This was a lot of fun. Always a pleasure.